Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Vera, London-based nature-inspired abstract artist. Welcome to my weekly series of Dispatches from the Art Studio, where I share with you a little bit about myself and my artwork, as well as my influences and inspirations. So this week I'm here at the Tate Modern. You can maybe see the brand new wing of the Tate Modern behind me. And I wanted to come to see the Modigliani exhibition. I've been a fan of Modigliani's work for a very long time, so when I found out that the Tate Modern was doing a special exhibition about him, I just ran down and I had to see it. If you're not familiar with his work, he's known for doing a lot of portraits and a lot of very sort of stylistically exaggerated portraits. So a lot of his portraits feature elongated necks, almost swan-like necks, very angular, sharp facial features. And his colors are very rich and his composition is very complex. And I just wanted to share with you a little bit about my highlights of visiting the exhibition. So Modigliani, or rather, whenever I look at an exhibition that's a one artist exhibition, I always look for the 3 E's, which is what I call the 3 E's. They're evolution, education, and experimentation. Now, when I think about evolution, I think about, again, he is known for these elongated necks, very angular features, but that's something that he evolved into over time. His early work does not feature those elements as prominently, and it was quite interesting to see his evolution and how some of those features that he's ultimately very well known for grew over time and became his style over time. The other aspect of the 3 E's, experimentation. I personally did not know that he did a lot of sculpture. There's a whole room in the exhibition which is dedicated to his sculpture work, a lot of it which is really quite fascinating and very good, and it apparently was well received at the time. So it was quite interesting to learn a bit more about that aspect of his work, that he wasn't just purely a painter, but he was also worked in 3D, in sculpture, which is a whole different skill set, I believe. And in terms of experimentation also, he worked in a few different media. Ultimately, he always wanted to painting, but again, the fact that he experimented with different ways of working, I thought that was quite interesting. And the last E, education, he was somebody who moved from Italy to Paris, which I can imagine that was quite a different cultural experience. And he surrounded himself with other artists, a lot of whom were also from different countries, coming into Paris, which at that time seemed the nexus for art and art lovers and artists themselves. In terms of the education aspect of it, he, through his friendships and through working with other artists as well alongside him, they were exploring a lot of different ways of working, a lot of different movements at the time, including Cubism. And the education aspect of it really comes when you think about some of the influences that he took from those artists, that he incorporated his own work, and then some influence that he actively did not want to incorporate his own work because they didn't speak to him. To me, that's always quite interesting, the education aspect of it, and certainly for me as an artist, coming to exhibitions like this and looking for inspiration, education, and just learning from other people and seeing what I really respond to and what I want to incorporate in my own work versus what I don't think speaks to me that much. The other thing that I found quite fascinating about his work is his colors. He's not, when you think about Modigliani, perhaps his use of color is not the first thing that comes to mind, but it should definitely be one of the top things. And there's 3 rich colors that he used quite a lot throughout all his works that I particularly love. One is a sort of slate, purple, blue, gray, which is a wonderful color. It really does remind me of slate as a material. The other one is a rich burgundy, and a lot of his nude paintings have a lot of rich burgundy, really sort of deep red wine colors. And the third color, which I found very prominent in his work, is an ochre, almost like a mustard, deep golden yellow. And those 3 colors, like I say, you see throughout his whole career, whether they're slightly darker, whether they're slightly lighter and softer, more nuanced, those 3 colors seem to be colors that he gravitated towards throughout his whole career. And they're 3 colors that I particularly love. And whether consciously or subconsciously, I find myself using more and more in my work. The other interesting thing to note about him is his nude paintings. There's a couple of big rooms with his nude paintings, and there's a few interesting elements about the nude paintings, I think. One is that even though his faces on those nude paintings continue to be quite angular and sharp and almost severe looking, his bodies are not. His bodies are very soft and round and curvaceous and supple and voluptuous. Whether you're talking about the sort of thighs or the belly or the breasts, they're very soft, they're very round. Even though the faces themselves are still quite severe and quite angular, I think that juxtaposition is quite an interesting element to the way that he worked. The other thing that I noticed as an artist, certainly, is that all the nudes, just except for 2 paintings, always have the feet cut off. And I'm not quite sure whether that was a conscious choice, that he wanted to somehow make the composition seem as if the woman was floating and to not tie her down and not ground her. But part of me wonders whether it was a more practical situation, or whether it was just a matter that he didn't feel particularly comfortable painting feet, maybe. Sometimes that's the way that art works, that there's particular elements that you feel very comfortable with and very competent with, and there's other elements that you feel less so. So part of it might just have been a practicality, that painting his feet wasn't really his strong point. But that is definitely something that, once you notice, you can't help but notice that all the sort of feet of the composition are cut off for all the nudes, most of the nudes. The other element of his compositions that I particularly love is how he always plays with asymmetry. There is a lot of work that's been done that talk about symmetry in the human form and symmetry in terms of the way we as humans perceive other people. And there's been a lot of data and research that shows that we find other people more attractive the more symmetrical their features are. And despite that, all of his compositions are always asymmetrical. Let me try again, are always asymmetrical. Whether it's the faces, that the subject is looking a bit to the side, or maybe the chin's a bit down or a bit up, whether it's a bit tilted to one side, whether it's the torso, the shoulders up, the shoulders down, there's an elbow, there's an arm. He plays with asymmetry in his compositions quite a lot. And also when you're looking at the subject matter, it's never a portrait dead on. It's always a bit to one side, a bit to the other side of the canvas. And I find that particularly interesting, that composition mattered to him. It wasn't just a matter of, painting a portrait and painting a person as they are, but it was a color choice, it was a composition, it was the way the person was standing, what that said about them. I think all that mattered to him. The last part about the portraits, which I suppose continues to be a mystery, is the eyes. There's a quote that's ascribed to him that he allegedly said that says something along the lines of, "I will paint your eyes when I know your soul." And a lot of people say that's why he didn't paint eyes. A lot of the eyes in his portraits are either very dark or very light, but he very, very rarely paints eyes as they actually are. I don't know if I understand that fully, to be honest. To me, that's still a mystery, because a lot of his portraits are people that he knew very well. They weren't just random sitters or random models. A lot of people were his close friends, his lovers, the mother of his children, and presumably he knows those people quite well. He knows their soul. So to me, it does remain a mystery why he chose to not paint a lot of the eyes as they are, because he could do it. There's lots of paintings where he clearly paints eyes. He can do it, he's comfortable with it, he's competent in it. And yet, for most of his painting, he chose not to. And I suppose that's the mystery that continues to this day, and that's one of the many intriguing things about Modigliani and his life and his work. So that's it from me for this week. It's quite chilly out here. So thank you very much for joining me. If you have a chance to see the Modigliani exhibit at the Tate Modern, it's on until early April, I believe. I highly, highly recommend it. But prepare yourself, it's probably quite busy. But if you're a member like me, it's fantastic because you can always just go in and out quite quickly and just go in as many times as you want. I've already seen the Modigliani exhibition 4 times now, and it's just been on for about a month and a half. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you're enjoying these weekly video series of dispatches from the art studio. Whether you want to connect with me in real life at the Wimbledon Art Studios and one of the other events that I do, or whether you want to connect online at my website, veraveraonthewall.com, or if you love your social media like I do, I'm on pretty much everything from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, LO, YouTube, and my handle's always Vera Vera. So, sorry, Vera Vera on the wall. So thank you very much for joining me this week, and I hope to see you next time. From the Tate Modern and the Modigliani exhibition, thank you again. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a lovely week. Bye!